whole lot of loving is what we'll be bringing. We'll make you happy.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Schools with Heart. I'm Olivia LaField, and today, as so often is the case, I begin with a story. One that, like the story that birthed the skills of independence, radically transformed my classroom and wholly inspired me to leave the first 15 years of my traditional classroom structure far behind. What do I mean by my traditional classroom structure? You remember, if you've been with me from the beginning, that I'm currently enjoying my 50th year in the classroom. When I first embarked upon my career, the traditional classroom structure was one that had dominated every classroom in America for well over 200 years. That being, the teacher was always up in front of the room, completely in charge, dominating and driving every minute of the day, while the students sat up straight in rows, eyes forward, focused only on the teacher, never allowed to talk freely with peers. The only time students talked was to answer or to ask a question. The teacher was the feeder of book information, and the job of the student was to sit up straight, listen, and obey a list of boldly plastered rules. It was a lifetime ago, but I'll take the vivid memory of it to my grave. I was that teacher for 15 years. I was the undisputed commander-in-chief who ruled absolutely from my way or the highway pulpit. Amazingly, most students acquiesced without questioning my authority. That was in the good old days, when parents did a better job of teaching their children to respect their teachers. I was fun. I loved being the teacher. I loved working hard to create a stimulating academic curriculum. And I constantly congratulated myself on having the best classroom control of anyone I knew. Truth to tell, I was known far and wide in the educational community for my masterful classroom management style. In fact, student teachers came in droves to observe and shake their heads in amazement. And then one day, everything changed. Everything. Little did I know that my kingdom was about to fall. It was late May, some 35 years ago. I was alone in my classroom after school when I suddenly heard a voice that said, "This is not what I have for you." They say such messages come from out of the blue. In a way, that's true, if you consider that heaven is the blue. I recognized the voice instantly and asked for it to be repeated. "This is not what I have for you." Exact same words, only stronger. More than anything else in the world, I love those moments when I hear from above. They assure me that God knows me personally, that He loves me enough to show me that I'm going in the wrong direction, and that I can trust Him to lead me in a better way if I will obey His voice. That day I learned there was a better way, but I had absolutely no idea in the world what that could be. I knew that God was trying to tell me that my controlling, authoritarian ways in the classroom were not the best for the kids. Did I question the message? Not for a second. But that didn't leave me any less puzzled by it. I finished the last weeks of that school year without altering a single strategy or method, and trusting implicitly that if things were going to change in my world, in my classroom, God was going to have to make it perfectly clear. That's when He gets all the credit, all the glory. That's when I know the idea is so incontrovertibly supernatural that my vastly limited intelligence never could have thought of it. And when it's his idea and not my idea, that's when the miracles follow. As summer vacation commenced, I let go and waited. And the answer came unexpectedly one unforgettable day in July as I was reading a book called The Different Drum by M. Scott Peck, a newly acquired book by one of my favorite authors. His groundbreaking book, The Road Less Traveled, which has now sold more than 9 million copies and has been translated into 23 languages, utterly changed my life. I was eager to see what further wisdom Dr. Peck had to share. And since it was summer, I had precious time to read. Within a few short minutes, I realized that I held in my trembling hands the blueprint for God's plan for my new classroom. Beginning with an account of his early adolescence, Peck describes that until the age of 15, he had attended a New England boarding school known as the nation's leading training school for rugged individualism. In retrospect, he recalled that, quote, as inmates will in a prison, the students had their own society with norms that were often as vicious. The pressures for conformity were immense. At any given time, at least half of the student body occupied the status of outcasts, end quote. During his third year, Peck recounts, quote, I dimly had the wisdom to know that I would soon suffocate in the air of that culture. It was not the thing to do at that time and place, but it was a matter of breathing for me. I dropped out, end quote. Ultimately, to convince his parents, he told them that he would commit suicide if they made him go back. As it turned out, his refusal to go back changed the entire trajectory of his life. Thankfully, Peck's parents discovered Friends Seminary, a little Quaker school in New York City, and there he flourished in a restorative culture of acceptance and intimacy. In Peck's words, quote, I felt like I had come home, end quote. As I read those words that summer day of 1996, my heart, mind, soul, and spirit, and everything that's capable of conscious awareness resonated with the word home. With that single word of divine revelation, God abruptly ended my search and unveiled the essence of his plan. I was to create a classroom that felt like home. Wow. Imagine my excitement as I devoured the remainder of his book. Embedded within the pages lay the blueprints for actually recreating that home that would ultimately define my classroom. From the first quick read, I drew a clear, big picture understanding of what Peck referred to as a true community. Then I went back with the intention of dissecting that big picture into separate and distinct parts. Though it was definitely new territory, in a matter of a few short hours, I embraced the well-defined ABCs of a true community and was well on my way to creating that first poster, which would display what I called the 7 commandments of a true community. Please try to imagine my excitement as the plan for my new classroom was faithfully revealed, one page at a time. The God of the entire universe, who knows all children and loves all children unconditionally, had singled me out and clearly told me, one solitary teacher out of who knows how many, that he had a better plan for my classroom. I had obediently listened, and after trusting for his direction, there it was, bigger than life, right in front of me. I can only hope that at this very moment you, my faithful listener, are feeling at least some degree of the initial excitement that I enjoyed in those first few revelatory moments. If indeed you are, I pray I can, in the videos to come, lead you on a never-ending, life-transforming journey of creating a classroom that feels more and more and more like home every year. Not just any home, but an entirely accepting, all-inclusive, emotionally and socially, heart and mind nurturing home that God created for the classrooms of America and beyond. Oh, happy day. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.